Well, it was a bit arduous because I hadn't anticipated so many sort of hassles with the... Realized that when I started Bond, you started your show.
Was it in '62, the first one you did?
21 years.
The world knew him as the ultimate James Bond, suave, invincible, and larger than life. But behind the screen, Sean Connery's final years were marked by a heartbreaking truth few ever saw. The man who once embodied strength and charm was slowly consumed by a hidden battle. After his passing, the shocking reality emerged. How could a legend who seemed untouchable spend his last days in silence and suffering? Long before the world knew his secret battle, Sean Connery was celebrated as the first actor to bring James Bond to life on screen. His 1962 debut in Dr. No made him an international icon. He wasn't just playing a role, he defined it. Connery's Bond became the template for every actor who followed, balancing sophistication with danger. But Connery's career stretched far beyond Bond. He won an Academy Award for The Untouchables in 1987 and starred in hits like Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade and The Hunt for Red October. His deep voice, commanding presence, and unmistakable charisma made him one of the most admired actors of his generation. Yet behind the fame, Connery remained intensely private. He often retreated to his homes in Spain and the Bahamas, avoiding the spotlight. This privacy meant that while audiences admired his seemingly flawless career, very few knew of his personal challenges. Friends and collaborators described him as disciplined and proud. He pushed himself to maintain an image of strength, even as health issues began to creep into his life. By the 2000s, Connery began stepping away from acting altogether, telling interviewers that he wanted peace, far away from Hollywood chaos. For fans, his retirement was puzzling. Why would one of the most bankable stars in the world disappear so suddenly? The truth, as it turned out, was more painful than anyone realized at the time. Connery's retreat from the public eye was not only about retirement, it was also about his growing health struggles. Throughout his later years, whispers circulated about his declining condition. But Connery himself never addressed them directly. The reality became clearer after his death in 2020. His widow, Micheline Roquebrune, revealed that Connery had been suffering from dementia for years. In her words, it was no life for him. He was not able to express himself in the last period. These haunting words painted a devastating picture of a man whose sharp wit and commanding presence were slowly taken away. Dementia robbed him of what defined him most: his mind, his voice, his ability to connect. For someone so fiercely independent, this decline was a cruel twist. Family members later confirmed how painful it was to see him fade from the man they knew into someone unrecognizable. Connery's health struggles were carefully hidden from the public during his lifetime. Out of respect for his dignity, his loved ones shielded him from unwanted attention. But once the truth came out, fans around the world were stunned. The charismatic figure who once captivated millions had endured a silent, private suffering. His struggle wasn't only physical. For Connery's family, watching a man once so full of life deteriorate was a heartbreaking ordeal. As Micheline admitted, while his passing was devastating, there was also relief. Relief that he no longer had to endure the slow and painful decline that dementia brings. To understand why Sean Connery's final struggle was so striking, you first have to see the life he built before it. Born in Edinburgh in 1930, Thomas Sean Connery grew up in poverty. His father was a factory worker, his mother a cleaning woman. Connery left school early and worked as a milkman, a coffin polisher, and even a lifeguard before finding his way into acting. His rise was anything but easy, but Connery's natural toughness, combined with striking looks and undeniable charisma, carried him through. When he became James Bond, he wasn't just an actor playing a part. He was living proof that someone from humble beginnings could embody sophistication and global glamour. Yet, despite his fame, Connery never lost his Scottish pride or his mistrust of Hollywood. He often spoke about his love of Scotland, even campaigning for Scottish independence. To fans, this made him even more beloved. He was a superstar who never forgot his roots. At the same time, Connery was fiercely protective of his private life. Unlike many celebrities of his era, he avoided scandal and kept his family largely away from the public spotlight. He valued his peace, often describing his home life with Micheline in the Bahamas as his true sanctuary. This tension, the most public of stars choosing the most private of lives, would later make his struggles with dementia even more shocking. The world had seen Connery as a man of unshakable control. The thought that he could lose that control entirely felt almost impossible. The true turning point in Connery's life came long before the public realized it. By the mid-2000s, Connery had quietly stepped away from Hollywood. His last major role was in The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen in 2003. When asked why he left acting, Connery often gave vague answers about being tired of the film industry. But behind the curtain, his health was already declining. Friends noticed that Connery began appearing less in public, avoiding interviews and events. While tabloids speculated about feuds or money issues, the reality was far more tragic. Dementia had begun to affect him, slowly stripping away his sharpness. It wasn't until after his death in October 2020 that Micheline Roquebrune, his wife of 45 years, revealed how much he had suffered. She explained that his last years were marked by confusion and fading memory, saying, "At least he died in his sleep, and it was so peaceful. I was with him all the time, and he just slipped away." Her words confirmed what many fans suspected but never wanted to believe. The man who once embodied power and control had been quietly battling a disease that took everything from him except his dignity. This revelation reshaped how the world saw his retirement. What once seemed like a voluntary choice now looked like the heartbreaking necessity of a man facing a battle he couldn't win. When news broke of Sean Connery's passing in October 2020, the world mourned the loss of a cinematic legend. Headlines everywhere celebrated his career, from Dr. No to the Untouchables. But it was the revelation of his dementia that shook fans most deeply. For decades, Connery had been the embodiment of strength. He was the Bond who could outwit any enemy, the father figure in Indiana Jones, the mentor in Highlander. To learn that he had spent his final years in confusion and decline seemed almost unthinkable. His widow's honesty about his struggle made the grief even more raw. Micheline Roquebrune explained, "It was no life for him. He had dementia, and it took its toll. He got his final wish to slip away without any fuss." Those words cut through the myth and showed the reality. For the first time, fans and colleagues saw Connery not as the untouchable star, but as a man who had endured immense suffering. Friends like Sam Neill, who worked with him on The Hunt for Red October, described Connery as a great actor, a wonderful friend, and the last of the true Hollywood stars. The escalation of emotion came not just from grief, but from the contrast, the public image of power against the private reality of vulnerability. It was a reminder that even icons can fade in silence. The reaction around the world was overwhelming. Leaders, actors, and ordinary fans poured out tributes. Scottish First Minister Nicola Sturgeon called him the world's greatest Scot, while James Bond producers Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson declared him the man who started it all. In the years since Sean Connery's death, his legacy has only grown stronger. Fans rewatch his films not just to see the swagger of James Bond or the wisdom of Professor Henry Jones, but to celebrate the full arc of his life. The revelation of his dementia reframed how many people remembered him, not as a flaw, but as a reminder of his humanity. His struggles with dementia also gave new meaning to his earlier public silence. Fans who once wondered why he vanished from Hollywood understood at last. He was protecting his dignity, shielding his most vulnerable years from the spotlight. Today, Connery's name carries a dual legacy: the immortal movie hero and the man who, in the end, could not escape what so many families face. His widow, Micheline, summed it up best when she said he went in peace, reminding the world that behind the legend was a husband, a father, a friend. Thanks for watching. Click here to check another video and make sure to subscribe to our channel.